by yourself?
He's hiding. There's a man in my house. Oh, no. No.
Can you see him?
Beautiful. My exact replica.
They know how he thinks.
It's always the same MO with slight variations. It's got partial prints, trace evidence, blood type even, but still no torch.
But to find out who he is, they'll need more than just his fingerprints.
So this is a clone of the killer. What do you remember?
Not bad for a mama's boy, huh? If you kill me, you kill yourself. My life is your life.
Jean Claude Van Damme is Replicant.
Live from the last of the Action Heroes Podcast Network studios, It's Nothing Worthwhile presents Van Dammit, a podcast about Jean Claude Van Damme. Here's Evan Moody and Andrew Gruthius.
Sitting here in Avalon.
What is that, a Cobra Kai hat? What are you wearing?
What, the hat?
Yeah, what are you wearing? What is that? I have you minimized because I got my notes.
It's No Mercy, yeah, Cobra Kai.
Okay, alrighty. The sweet sounds of William Martin Joel. That makes 2 podcasts in a row that we've faded into Billy Joel's song.
What was the last
Auld
one?
Lang Syne. Auld Lang Syne.
Auld Lang Syne, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hey, this is a great song.
Interesting that you thought that, because I think it is as well, and if it was the final deal, I think it's a fitting end.
Yeah, but are they the last words?
Are they? Well, actually, we'll get into news for... We have a lot of news that's going to impact the Nothing Worthwhile neighborhood. I've actually changed it, Andrew. It's no longer the Nothing Worthwhile universe.
The neighborhood?
Because as comparative to World Wrestling Entertainment, our fan base is, I would say respectfully, significantly smaller. So, like a neighborhood of 30 people, we have a lot of news that impacts the Nothing Worthwhile neighborhood.
And it's actually a small neighborhood in Mumbai. So,
Exactly. Exactly. We've got Billy Joel news. We've got wrestling news. We've got news.
Who doesn't have wrestling news these days?
Exactly. So, actually, in preparation, let's do this. Welcome to Nothing Worthwhile, episode number 118. We are back on the last of the Action Heroes Podcast Network, as once again Andrew and I are doing it Van Dammit style as we take a look at our guy Jean Claude Van Damme. Is this the inevitable cha-cha slide for Jean Claude, as Andrew and I will take a look at 2001 Replicant? Of course, my co-host, Andrew Gruthius, live from Coconut Creek, Florida. I'm Evan Moody, live from Phoenix, Arizona. Andrew, in preparation for today's podcast, I went on and I listened to One More Round, the Rocky podcast with Kyle, Katie, and Ryan Rebalkin. They were covering Rocky 3. I learned a lot of stuff about Kyle, Katie, and Ryan, and a lot of stuff about Rocky 3.
Yeah, well, I've said it before. I actually enjoy when they do that because it's fun to listen to and discover things that I haven't seen before. And we've extended our desire to join them over there, but I think we were kind of turned down. So because it would be fun, because it'd be a lot of fun for me, at least, to talk about a lot of the stuff. I have a lot of opinions on all of the perspectives that they give, and they're good perspectives. But I guess we'll just stay in our lane, I guess, as they say.
Well, here's the thing. Before we get into it, I've learned a lot. Katie apparently is always vacationing and summering. Like she was like, "Hey guys, I'm going to Mexico for a couple of days," and Kyle was like, "Man, you got the greatest schedule. I thought in America you guys work hard and are stressed out and don't have any time." And she's like, "Oh, I always take some time." That's my female voice, by the way. Yeah. Guys, I'm heading to Mexico. And Kyle, he kind of does like the color. He does like the real in-depth stuff. And then Ryan, I feel like Ryan is actually a real-life action hero. He's now stationed in the Middle East. I don't know how he does it. Like, he makes it sound like he's in like a tomb somewhere. And I don't know how they got internet and Wi-Fi, but he says very little. He made it. He said basically on the last podcast, just real quick, he's hopeful to head home soon, safely. And I'm like, man, whatever he's doing is dwarfing what Stallone and Schwarzenegger did in the movies. Like, Ryan's a real life action hero.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, he's in service to his country, and as a fellow North American, that affects us greatly. So what Ryan does, we can't thank him enough for. And I don't know how he does it either. But you know what? That's these people they're Superman. They have powers that we don't, Evan.
Yeah, so he has I guess he has time to podcast. And so the two things I picked up on the Rocky 3 was they talked a lot about – see, this is the stuff – they get into what I would say respectfully is minutia. And I don't know if I would want to go into this, but I did recognize they talked about when Apollo gives Rocky his colors, his shorts, right, in honor of the Clubber Lang – I guess the second Clubber Lang fight, and how that would ruin continuity because it wouldn't fit Rocky. It would have to be size. And then I was thinking to myself, it would have been really funny if Stallone was like, "Yo, Apollo, the cod piece is too big. It's too big in the groin. You're an African American. I'm an Italian. So they were talking about that, and continuity wise, that would kind of make sense, right?
Yeah. But the bigger point is that I actually like that minutia because the Rocky series in particular is one of those that I can recite from beginning to end, and I've seen them so many times. And so I enjoy looking beyond, what's right in your face. And that's what I enjoy that minutia, even no matter how far it goes with Rocky, because everything is on the screen for a reason. So,
okay. And so we've talked about this before, but they do touch upon the homoeroticism of Rocky 3. A lot of the scenes with the guy, with Carl Weathers and Sylvester Stallone with their shirts off, not a hair on their body, literally baby oiled, and they're running around and they're hugging half naked in the water, wearing these little half mini shirts. And my only question I wanted to ask of you is, because we have talked about this and we've goofed on it, in a loving way, but do you think that wasn't a decision, Stallone directorial wise? Was it just more of the fashion, and that Stallone was in his handsome phase? You know what I mean? Like,
I would say partly for both. I don't think, because we've been living with Rocky 3 since it came out. We saw it in the theaters. I know I did more than once, and that was 1982. So that stuff wasn't really goofed on until decades later. We didn't think anything of it when we saw it, and for many years later. And you know what? We still don't. It's others. We respond to that minutia, but we don't see it that way. You know why? Because by Rocky 3, we already knew these characters inside and out. So the thought was, when they're running down the beach to Gonna Fly now, not, oh my God, this is like they're gonna start making out. It's look at these guys who a movie ago were beating the shit out of each other within an inch of their lives, and now the bad guy is training the good guy. It's the coolest thing ever. And so that's what we were thinking about. But it's, years later when people, it doesn't translate well to today's audience. And that's the first-time viewers and early viewers are going to see, because they haven't lived with these characters the way we have. So to me, it's fun to talk about, but it's also, I don't believe that there was any. There was probably a little vanity a lot of vanity on Stallone's part.
Stallone is in mid. Come on,
yes,
respectfully,
absolutely. I mean, even if you go and just you could go ahead.
You could see the progression from Rocky to 2 to 3. His physique gets more and more impressive with each film, and Rocky 3 really he took it to an insane level, and then he still built upon that in Rocky 4.
Well, in Rocky 4, to put a cherry on this, in Rocky 4, supposedly that was when he was in his absolute best shape of his life, like
exactly
2% body fat or whatever. And just follow me here for a second, because if you watch the original version of Rocky 4 and the recut that he did, there is a significantly less amount of vanity shots in the new one than the old one, and it's enough so that it's noticeable. I'll give you one quick example, and then we'll move on. I'm just going to give you one quick example. Do you remember in Rocky 4 when it's Drago and Rocky, and it's the first round, and they're walking to the ring, and they're walking to each other in the center of the ring? Okay, and there's a shot of Drago, and he does that. I don't even know what it's called. What is it when you flex your pec? That you flex the muscle in your pec. Pec pop. So they show Drago do one, then they show Rocky do one. That's in the original. Okay, in the new one, that's not there. It's close-ups of their faces as they're walking up to each other. So that's an example of some of the different angles and shots that Stallone chose to use for the director's cut, and I think it took out some of that vanity that you're talking about.
But I don't even know how that connects to Rocky 3. Because, first of all, Groo, Rocky vs. Drago, that was recut, re-edited with Stallone, who's now well into his 70s. So I'm sure he's looking for a more serious-toned Rocky 4, Rocky vs. Drago, which, by the way, Andy talked about. He called me. I can't wait for us to see it, and then we watch it, and he falls asleep on the couch.
To be fair, I had already seen it twice.
Oh, whatever! How dare you? How dare you?
How dare you?
How dare you? All he couldn't. Why? We're going to see it in New York, Rocky vs. Drago, and I turn and I go, Groo, that scene, and it.
He is not lying, folks. He is not lying. That happened.
All right, Groo. We've got a lot of news to discuss that's going to impact the Nothing Worthwhile neighborhood. So let's tee it up. It's Nothing Worthwhile breaking news. Am I on? Am I in? Wait. All right, thank you, Groo. Nothing Worthwhile breaking news brought to you in New Life Center. Blah 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 blah. Actually,
wait, Marie's not going to like that.
Well, we have the commercial. She's at work right now. Hopefully,
we got to get her to record another. Marie needs to record.
I know.
We need to update that.
All right. Well, you'll see her soon enough.
Okay.
Listen, this broke within the last 48 hours, so I don't even have this on my notes. I'm looking at my phone, so please don't fact check me, Andy. But I'm going to give you just a real quick. We texted a little bit. Actually, I like to open with good news, and then we could do the bad. But this is so stunning a story that we got to open up with Vincent Kennedy McMahon, who is the founder of modern. I'm looking at ESPN's website right now. The modern founder of WWE, World Wrestling Federation, World Wrestling Entertainment, 1982. And so we have, again, I'm just going to go off the top of my head. We've talked about it. He has a lawsuit from a young lady who I believe is 43 years old. Her name is out there, Janelle Grant. She worked in the WWE Legal and Talent Department, and she is suing McMahon for harassment, sexual trafficking. And some of the allegations are just stunning, and I'm just going off the top of my head, obviously, with inappropriate contact, inappropriate harassment, and, of course, sexual relations, literally passing her along to fellow executives in World Wrestling Entertainment, having her or forcing her or coercing her into sending salacious videos to perhaps wrestling talent, contracted or otherwise. Basically, really sordid stuff. And as of this morning, Vince has resigned from the TKO board. Obviously, we've talked about the merger with Endeavor and TKO and UFC. So Vincent McMahon is no longer at all affiliated with World Wrestling Entertainment. I'll take a sippy of my Pellegrino. Just a stunning fall from grace. There's no bigger wrestling fan than myself and Andrew Gruthius. I'm curious to hear what Andrew thinks. Groot, the floor is yours.
This is absolutely horrible. This is but we can't be honest with ourselves without saying this is anything that surprises us. To be quite, we can't be truly honest. We know what kind of guy we've known for a long time. What kind of guy, Vince McMahon is. What we didn't know was the depths. Or what we don't know, got to be fair. What we don't know are the depths of the depravity and the behavior. According to this lawsuit, some of the most heinous things I don't even think one could make up. No need to go into them. Just you imagine it, and it's there. So thank God that he had the good sense to take himself out completely, although I'm sure it was not his choice, and that's exactly what it should be. But you can't. I guess we can't convict him until, and it's not a criminal matter yet. If it's found that he did these things, then it should be a criminal matter, and the guy should go to prison for the rest of his life if he did what's outlined in this lawsuit. We don't know the answer to that. So there are two questions here. First, will justice be served? And then the second question is, how will it affect things going forward? The first one, we can only hope that our system will do its job and the truth will come out, and whatever the truth is, the appropriate levies will be laid down. The second part, about how it affects things going forward, I actually have good news and bad news. I'll tell the bad news first. The bad news is it's going to affect some popular talent that we like, starting tonight. And we'll talk about that, I think, at the end there. But the good news is that I was, as you know, I was at WWE SmackDown last night, and I was curious to see what the vibe would be. I was actually kind of nervous about it because I felt the stench of this specter would be no. That's what I was thinking. I was like, is this going to be in the air? Is it going to be the elephant in the room? And I got to tell you, not even close. That place was hot last night. I don't know how the show looked on TV, but being there in person, it was a terrifically fun show. And even, it was, morale seemed very high last night, and I was very pleasantly surprised by that, given the circumstances. So that's really all I have to say so far. Other than, like I said, if he did this, then go to hell. I can't,
What are you, Stephen Larson?
Am I not? Am I wrong? No, Stephen Larson have convicted him already. All right, so
that's why
you bring them up,
regularly.
Yeah, they've convicted him. Wait, I'll piggyback off that because yes, and actually it was kind of annoying and I do still listen to them, but they seem to try to look for anything they can like poke at the WWE for, and it's like they're held to a higher standard than anybody else. So they've convicted McMahon already. All right, they're like sitting there. Oh, this is the most disgusting thing we've ever did. And this is terrible, and the wrestling WWE has a huge problem, and and that's not what it is. What it is this guy has been sued. Okay, has been sued. Has not been charged with a crime. Has been sued by someone who is claiming that he did something. All right. People get sued every day, multiple times a day for bullshit. Do I think this is bullshit? No. But let's see what happens. So, that was my in response to what, you talking about Stephen Larson. What?
Dogs are running to the front door. Somebody's barking.
Uh-oh.
Dogs are running to the front door.
Woof.
I don't know. I was listening. I said to Andy before the show, let's get to our points. Let's move. And I felt like I was listening to MSNBC as Andy was, giving the news and opinion all in one. All right, so let me respond to your thoughts. I don't think there'll be anything criminally. I think this will be a civil matter. Basically, this started because he didn't follow through on an NDA. So they had an NDA agreement, and he did not follow through with payments. I absolutely believe it as well, maybe for different reasons. We've heard these allegations before on Vince, so clearly there's patterns of behavior established here. If this was a one-off, this was the first time, or even the second time, I might say, it's a he said, she said, let's see. Vince, this happened in 2020, which really tells me he's an arrogant guy, because we're already in the Me Too movement. These sort of things aren't going to fly anymore. Not that they ever really did. And, so, his arrogance, and he sort of played into his on-screen character, and I'm sure into his off-screen as well. I think about his children, Shane and Stephanie, and his wife, Linda. They live separately, but they must be so bitterly disappointed. And no, do I see it? Should it affect? Embarrassed? Okay. But to the product? No. Why would it affect the fans? The product is the product. Vince has really been only tangentially related to the WWE over the last couple of years. He was out for a period of time and forced his way back in, hence the arrogance, which I referenced earlier. So no, I don't think it's going to affect the in-ring product. As to if there's ancillary fire with other talent,
well, there's already one. There's already one that we know of.
But it should. I don't even think it should be, in my judgment. But
it's already been announced. I think it's already been announced that. Well, let's just say it. Lesnar is not. It was going to be as part of the Rumble, and now will not be because of this.
All right, well, I hate to say it. Don't really need him there.
I agree. I'm bummed. I'll keep going. I'm sorry.
What? Vince told the girl to send some salacious videos to him. That's his fault. That's his problem. That's what I've read. Should
right.
Pay a price for that? I don't know.
Yeah, but here's the thing, and I agree with you in reality. Not just because I'm a fan of Brock Lesnar, but you got this huge merger that literally the day before was going on TV saying this is the biggest thing ever in the history of the universe, with Dwayne Johnson signing on as the one of the board members and all this thing. So you have a lot of entities that are now connected to this whole thing. So they are going to get rid of anybody who is even close to this thing. That's what Endeavor and whoever runs this whole thing, because now they're in control. They tell Triple H, hey, if Ari Emanuel, if that's his name, he tells Triple H, hey, you got to get rid of this guy. Bad news. We already lost a sponsor, Slim Jim. So get rid of him. Triple H has to do it. So it's too big to be able to, so that's
giving
why.
You my opinion, though,
and I agree with you.
I think Brock Lesnar, there's going to be ancillary fire, and
What does that mean? You're using these words now. After you texted that to me, I actually looked it up, and I couldn't figure it out. What do you?
Well, he's like he's going to be a side casualty. He's not in the mix, but he's going to get some side. He's going to.
Okay, now I get it.
He's going to get some professional consequences for something that I think he's only sort of on the surface related to.
Okay.
I get it. I don't have to like it, and that's that. But since you dipped into it already, now because I had these news articles lined up, since you spoiled my next segments.
I'm sorry.
But let's get of course. Let's get to it though. On better news, Monday Night Raw Groo has found a new home, and it's not on cable.
Wait, is this fun
Tuesday.
facts?
No, I would have announced.
Oh, okay. All right.
We're talking about WWE still breaking.
Yes. Okay. Go ahead.
Let me take a sip of my Pellegrini.
Stop. What's that pill you're popping?
I'm not popping.
What's that thing in your mouth? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh,
no, I'm saying you're like self-medicating. You're so frustrated.
Oh no. How dare you?
How dare you?
Monday Night Raw Groo has found a new home. It's not on cable. WWE announced last Tuesday that its flagship show was going to Netflix January of 2025. The deal is for 10 years and more than $5 billion, according to multiple reports. It's another move into the streaming space for the sports entertainment giant, which has its pay-per-view events, premium live events on the Royal Rumble at WrestleMania, air live on Peacock. For Netflix, it's a major step towards live sports entertainment, and it has previously only dipped its toe into that area. Quote, "We are excited to have WWE Raw with its huge and passionate multi-generational fan base on Netflix." Netflix Chief Content Officer Bella Bajara told Variety. WWE will be able to deliver more joy and value for their audiences and our members. Raw is the best of sports entertainment, blending great characters and storytelling with live action 52 weeks a year. And we are thrilled to be in a long-term partnership with the WWE. Groo Raw currently airs on USA. Big, bold move by the WWE. Do you like it?
Love it. It's brilliant for both sides of this deal. And here's why. For WWE, they are going to pick up a whole new swarm of fans of people who have Netflix who aren't familiar with the WWE that much, but are always sitting there surfing Netflix and looking for stuff to watch. They'll get those. Plus, the fact that it's a year out is brilliant because I do predict that by next year, cable will be in the minority. It's already fading away now, and people think it's going to be around a lot longer than I think it'll be. I think by January of 2025, most people will be on to streaming. So it's brilliant on that part. They're getting a fortune of money. On the other side, Netflix just gained basically every WWE fan who doesn't already subscribe to Netflix. So I don't see a downside for anybody in any capacity other than USA apparently loses its top-rated program. Well, I guess
but they're getting SmackDown, so it's kind of like
they are
a one-for-one. Where you really need to work on your long-term and short-term memory. I'm getting you over here to New York. USA gets SmackDown.
When was that announced?
NXT is going. We've talked about it on the podcast. USA is getting SmackDown.
That's not official.
CW is. It is official.
Are you sure?
Okay, I'm lying.
No, I don't. Evan, I don't think you're lying. I just haven't heard that. Okay, yes. In that case, my last point is null and void. I did not know that.
Well, I agree with everything you said. I think this is a brilliant move by all parties. I really thought Amazon Prime was going to get Raw. I thought with the Thursday night football package, I thought that would have been good synergy for live programming. The WWE, Nick Khan has completely changed the game, the model for the WWE. They were a live event touring company like Barnum and Bailey Circus, and now that they've moved to rights fees for their content, which have been just tremendous. For all things that Andrew outlined, Netflix goes into the live event game. They're basically going to have like a pay-per-view every week for WWE. The amount of money that they'll put into the product, new director, new television people, new fresh ideas. And again, Netflix, and I don't want to get into this long term, but Netflix feels like it's the market leader with streaming. Just feels that way. I haven't read anything. It just feels like with all the new stuff that they've gotten a nice push over the last couple of months. And I think it's just brilliant. The WWE has gotten so much money, and and I think even moving NXT to almost back to a third major brand, the money that the CW spent, they're just awash in money. And I agree with you. I think streaming is the way that it's going to be. I think it really is here anyway. I agree with Andy. We cut the cord on cable quite a couple of years ago. So yeah, I agree. I think it's a win-win for all parties. And that dovetails me into Andrew just mentioned it. Following that news, perhaps even bigger announcement for the WWE was Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was named to the TKO board of directors while gaining full ownership of The Rock name, and entered into a new services and licensing agreement with the WWE. This article says this really feels like the beginning now of the Nick Khan era in WWE. It's going to be bold. It's going to be international, big events, big names. The Rock joins the board of directors. It feels important on several levels. It feels like now, the article goes on to say, you have a former wrestler that does not have a McMahon last name, that has a seat in the biggest table in sports entertainment for the first time. Implications for Rock getting back into WWE, getting more involved with wrestling, perhaps this year and beyond. He has a new services and merchandise agreement and now has a bigger stake in the company's success. Again, he further teased a clash, maybe WrestleMania, maybe another time with Roman Reigns during an appearance on Tuesday on ESPN's First Take, saying, quote, "There's a chance that the two will have a match at WrestleMania. The ripple effects will be fascinating to watch." Groo, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson takes a seat at the biggest table in sports entertainment. Thoughts?
Well, it's hard to find any negatives here. What you said to me is the most important thing. You have a wrestler, whatever. He was one of the boys, and you have one of the boys at the true head of the table, who can bring that perspective, and a very powerful perspective. Because I don't see anybody saying no to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. As far as he's pretty much the biggest star in the world right now. He's fallen a little bit, but this is going to have big implications for him and his career. So just to play devil's advocate over one tiny issue, I'm going to ask your opinion. Do you think that does this put The Rock over Triple H as far as does The Rock now say, this is what we're going to do? I'm going to do this at Mania, and then and does Triple H have to go with that? That's because Rock does kind of have a vanity problem, I think a little bit. I love him; he's the best there ever was, and is. But that's my only little tiny concern. Is Triple H giving up a little bit of the creative thing that he has? That's my only skepticism.
Yeah, actually, I'm really surprised Andrew's asking me for my opinion. You don't get that very often here. I serve it up for that was low hanging fruit. And so I think so. This I think it I don't want The Rock to play his hand and force something that doesn't feel, to quote Gary Baba Booey, organic to the process with the WWE. So I don't think that's going to happen, because I think Triple H has enough respect, and I believe The Rock, those guys go way back, and I think they'll have a good working relationship. And again, he has a stake in the company, So I think he ultimately has to do what's in the best interest of the company, not himself. But I will acknowledge that was my only criticism of the deal. Conversely, I think this is a great a play for The Rock because I think his career has started to flag. And he did this in 2013, 2012. He got back with the WWE and did Fast Five and sort of repositioned himself back on the top. So I think he always knows he has a set fan base in World Wrestling Entertainment, and he always has a set fan base overall in world. So we have the Rock fans, and then of course the WWE has a massive fan base no matter how you cut it. My only other thought is, I'm sorry, I'll just put myself over. I think this validates. I've said on our podcast he is the number one wrestler of all time, and I've said it for things outside of the ring. And I think this guy has just set the standard as a guy who just left the ring and is just elevated to heights. I mean, the guy, he's got the tequila companies and he's got his hand in everything. He's a mogul, and so I acknowledge your point about creatively. I think that's a little mini concern, but overall, I don't see it as a net loss for WWE and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson at all.
Me neither, and I'm excited about it. And yeah, it's only good things because if nothing else, he is an excellent protector of brands and business. He's been kind of squeaky clean, not like. I mean, if there was something there, they would have found it by now, So it's like I have a really good, and maybe that's why morale didn't take such a hit after the shock of the Vince thing. I have expected Rock to show up last night just because I thought that the WWE would say, you know what, today was a bad day. We need some goodwill.
No, I mean, if you told me Triple H went down, I would say morale. If you told me Shawn Michaels went down, I'd say morale. If you told me even Bruce Pritchard, I might say morale. Vince has been tangentially, I get it, he's the founder, but he's been so out of the loop, and we know he's about his wackiness and his bad choices for years now. So while it is a stunning fall from grace, I quote you weren't shocked at all. So why would that affect Nia Jax? Why would that affect LA Knight? I mean, they still got to go out in a job.
It hasn't, but it hasn't. But my concern was before yesterday.
All right, fine.
Was that it's not so much that it's Vince; it's that this stuff was going on within this company. So I thought that would, and a lot of people still think that that's going to put a stain on it. I don't. And I agree, and you agree with me.
Yeah, I do, because Lance Storm, every wrestler now that has an axe to grind is going to come out and go on Steven Larson. And, and again, when there's legit criticism, I'm all for it. But, now you're going to get every Chris Jericho type that's going to want to go out there and stain. Now, my last point before I'd like to move on and talk a little Billy Joel. And I got a lot of stuff. Replicant. First statement TKO came out with was, hey, this predated the merger, and this predated Vince not being involved with our company. So the first thing they did was let everybody know, hey, we weren't involved. This predates our involvement with everybody. Does that absolve not criticism? No, because criticism is, for most part, is an emotional thing and a matter of opinion, so to speak, I think. So, if I looked at this kind of cold and calculated, they weren't even involved. And so I think, actually now, I think, probably the leadership has to bring the talent in and let them know what's going on and let them know, hey, we still have people to entertain, and it's business as usual. We got to go ahead and do what we need to do. I mean, that's just my take on it.
Yeah, the only problem is perception is reality. But just to end this, I have one question for you. Does Triple H address it in the press conference after the Royal Rumble today?
Only if he's asked specifically.
Okay, asked and answered.
Yeah. And I had a point because Okay, so here's my last thing. I always think there's the WWE fan base, like an Andrew Guthius, who goes to the shows and watches, and the internet, social media, wrestling community, and that's the same thing we've said for a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
They have a big voice, but they're not going to affect the fans who want to just go out there and enjoy it. And the current people are sort of not involved and are guiltless. So, you know what I mean? I mean, we see this in social media all the time. That has a big voice, but it doesn't really. I don't think it's going to impact the WWE. Now, provided somebody, people who are with the WWE aren't involved, then that's I think a medium if, but.
Yeah, you got to think guys. You got to think guys like Mushnick are foaming at the mouth right now, to like dig for stuff to kill, because they don't just hate Vince, they hate wrestling, and they always have. So
well, but again, that's an assumption that if the current team there was involved, but that as far as we know, that's not been even alleged nor proven. So, all right. Groo, another major focus of the Nothing Worthwhile neighborhood is William Martin Joel. Billy Joel Groo will emerge from a 17-year recording hiatus February 1st with the release of Turn the Lights Back On. It was a press release. The song is, quote, classic Billy Joel style tune, embodying the hallmarks of his signature sound and ushering in the next chapter of his story. Turn the Lights Back On. Groo is produced by Freddie Wexler, who has worked with everyone from Ariana Grande to Selena Gomez and Celine Dion. Billy has a quarter writing credit on it. It's written by Wexler, Arthur Eggs and Bacon, Wayne, Hector, and Joel. Billy Joel Groo first hinted that new material might be coming late last year during a show at MSG. Quote, I have good news and I have bad news, he said. I'll give you the bad news first. We don't have anything new. We don't have anything new to play. News is you don't have to sit through something you have no idea what it is. Although we got a little something we're working on, you might hear sometime. And then the bass player goes. I don't even know. I know the guys from like Australia.
It's not Biverty Mavito?
Yeah. Liberty Bibbity. Groo, his last pop record was 1993's River of Dreams. Of course, we referenced Famous Last Words, which is the last track on River of Dreams. Billy is still a touring giant. We got new singles in 2007, releasing All My Life and Christmas in Fallujah. All My Life, kind of a Sinatra-esque kind of cut, and Christmas in Fallujah, a Led Zeppelin-y kind of thing that I kind of liked a little bit. In 2019, Groo, Billy interviewed with Rolling Stone, and he said, quote, I still write music, I just don't record it. They're not in song form. It's another kind of music altogether. It's purely for my own edification. I don't feel compelled to record it. I don't feel compelled to make myself be relevant. Like I said, I've lived the rock and roll life. I'm not writing that anymore. I have a lot of music that no one's ever heard and no one may ever hear if I don't decide to do something with it. It's really about the creative process that's important to me, not about having records on the charts or selling a lot of recordings. Groo, Billy's playing a series of one-night-only shows with Sting at U.S. stadiums throughout the year. And July 25th, he'll wrap up his monthly MSG Madison Square Garden residency after a decade-long run. We may talk about Billy in the future, but Groo, thoughts on the return of Billy Joel?
Well, you and I look at Billy through two lenses. We look at him through.
That is. By the way, I want to give you credit. Absolutely.
Yes, we look at the live performer and we look at the singer-songwriter. So, as a fan of Billy Joel, the singer-songwriter, I'm very excited. I'm excited to hear anything, but this kind of validates like what I've been saying or what we've been saying for a while. Like, why not just, you don't have to put out albums anymore. You got something you're working on that might sound, let us hear it. Let the fans hear it. If they don't like it, so don't play it in concert. Nobody cares. You don't need it for the money. You don't need it for the charts. Does anybody even look at Billboard anymore? No. There's no competition. Once you're at a certain level, there is no more competition. So show us what you're working on. So I am the only thing that bums me, like 4 writers. Like the only guy he ever really wrote a song with was Beethoven. I mean, if you think about it, right? Right?
I mean, well, no. Factually, you are incorrect.
Really?
There is one artist that has a co-writing credit with Billy Joel.
Ooh.
Do you know who that is?
All right, I'll take a guess. Cyndi Lauper.
You absolutely. I was going to say you've referenced the song before. Isn't it a kind of
silence?
madness
Yeah.
to be living by a code
But you
of
know,
silence?
but you want to know why I know that?
You really
and it's
got
not
a lot
because
to say.
the reason that I know that, and this is going to upset you. The reason that I know that is not because I know Cyndi Lauper sang the song with him. I figured it was just a vocal collaboration. Because yesterday I was listening to Billy Joel radio, and Billy Joel was actually talking about, like, he couldn't figure out what the song was about, and Cyndi Lauper helped him do that, and they wrote it together. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. But like Billy Joel's first single in, I don't count Christmas in Fallujah and that whatever thing was. This seems like it's a Billy Joel song. So I'm going back to 93 now. Billy Joel's the right. So I'm just maybe it's a royalty thing. I'm hoping the words and music were by Billy Joel and Billy Joel alone. That's what I'm hopeful for. But you know what? Who am I to nitpick? We're getting a new song from Billy Joel after all these years. Maybe it'll lead to more. Nothing but positives in there. No negatives whatsoever.
My thoughts are pretty much the same as yours. I am slightly ponderous of the quarter writing credit too, and I'm slightly ponderous of the producer choice who's really worked with top artists. But then I thought about, like, when Bon Jovi made their big return with Crush, they worked with like some guy who did Britney Spears. So I'm hopeful. I like that the ER release harkens back to the classic Billy Joel sound. So I've said a lot. I'll take a sip of my Pellegrino, but I agree. If there's, as a hardcore Billy Joel fan, looking at some of the notes, I'm taking a little bit of pause. But yes, overall, when we texted with our friend Hasselbein, overall, my opinion is of you. Billy Joel's putting something new out. I'm excited. I'm interested. Am I a little like, well, let's see what it is in terms of creative quality, or in my opinion, quality? Sure. But overall, I'm very excited that Billy Joel is putting out something new. Yes.
Okay, and while you sip your Pellegrino, I have a question for you. I'm not as familiar with those other two songs. I have heard them a couple times, but nothing more than that. Christmas in Fallujah, and what was the other one? The Sinatra-esque type song?
All My Life.
Okay, so let me ask you a quick question about both of those two songs. Do you think that those two songs lyrically are like Billy Joel songs? Like, is that a window into him, like River of Dreams was? Like those kinds of songs? You know the lyrics, I don't. So I'm asking you your thoughts. And you know what? All right, go ahead. Do you have an answer?
All My Life is a tin panny. It's a bridge. It's a big man. It's a Sinatra-esque. It's sort of a love song, an ode to Katie Lee Joel, who was his very young wife at the time, and we know how that worked out. But that shouldn't really affect the song. So it's it's a glossy love song, a lot of production, Streisand-esque, to quote Craig Hasselbein. So no, I don't really care for it. If I hear it, I'll listen to it a little bit. Christmas in Fallujah was a little bit more. It's a little bit more Goodnight Saigonish. It's a political sort of song, and the original track was sung by a younger singer, a guy by the name of Cass Dillon, who's pretty big out in New York, who was dating his daughter Alexa Ray Joel at the time. Billy's single, he sang it live in Australia. And so it's a little bit derivative of Led Zeppelin. It's got the jangly guitars and sort of the Egyptian-y kind of background stuff. I like that a little bit more. Great Billy Joel stuff? No, not on par with River. But at the time, being a Billy Joel fan, I was just like, oh, something different to listen to.
Okay, good. Because two things about what the very little we know about this song is, one, it sounds like a Billy Joel song. Okay, all we hear is some piano chords, but they're Billy Joel piano chords, number one. And number two, the title of the song and the small snippet of lyrics we've seen, he sounds like he's addressing all of the questions that we've had over the years. Did I wait too long to turn the light back on? That's what it seems that this song is about. So that's what I want. I don't want a Save the World song. I don't want a Save the Whales song. I want All for Lena. I want that kind of writing that's telling me, that's giving me a window into the singer, and especially someone like Billy Joel. That's what it seems like we're getting with this. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, good point, because my take on it was Turn the Lights Back On. I think is going to be, now maybe a little bit different in similar vein, but I think Turn the Lights Back On to me was maybe a creative and a personal rebirth, because maybe now he's, even at his advanced age, finally happy. He's got the younger wife. He's got the 2 young kids. Maybe his legacy is that was my take, that maybe the lights are, I have a rebirth, so to speak. That was my take on it, though I like to hear what you said as well.
And an interesting thought that just popped into my head, could this rebirth of interest in writing songs be connected to his withdrawal from touring or from performing on a stage? The timing is pretty interesting, Evan, I gotta say.
Well, listen, I'm not going to read into it more than one song. Obviously, I'm hoping, like Andy is, he's not. He's doing these one-off shows. So, Billy. One thing about Billy or his management, they're smart. He kind of set the standard with the residency. Now, pop stars and rock stars had done residencies before Billy Joel announced it in 2014.
Right.
But nobody did to the massive scale like Billy did with MSG. Then you saw a lot of the big names do Vegas and do these schmazzes. Now he's doing what you haven't really seen yet in the classic rock realm, these big nostalgia-driven with other artists. He announced now he's apparently doing a show in Cleveland with Rod Stewart. So, it's Sting, it's Rod Stewart. Not a lot of synergy. Don't know if the 2 acts will play together or something like that. I think maybe you'll get something with Sting. I don't know about Rod Stewart. That's for another debate, maybe the next podcast. But anyway, he seems to have he's always kind of setting the market where he's getting out there and he's making massive amounts of money anyway. Yes, I agree with you, Groo. The touring, he's not going to be a touring giant anymore in the sense of a lot of dates. He's not the Grateful Dead, but he's going to pick his shows. And they'll be pretty massive. They'll go baseball parks, which he can easily sell out with the Sting and a Rod Stewart and a Stevie Nicks.
Right, but that's my point, because now he's basically got one show every 3 or 4 months instead of one every 3 or 4 weeks, which was the Garden thing. So could this be connected? He might want more time to, screw the family. Write music, maybe there's a connection. I'm just thinking positively, and by the way, if Billy Joel and Rod Stewart were coming to South Florida, I would absolutely go, because Rod Stewart is on my bucket list. I really want to see Rod Stewart once. So I hope that he does more, but I think you're right. I think it's just going to be wherever and whoever, whoever's available.
Exactly.
That's what it seems like. It's like Billy Joel and John Popper in Sacramento.
Iron Maiden, Judas Priest. Are you? You love Billy.
Billy Joel and Rob Alford. Is that his name from Judas Priest or Iron Man? Whatever. Right. I don't know.
You got another thing coming. I just saw that with the Rod Stewart announcement. So. All right, Andrew, that was real interesting stuff. Before you and I give our thoughts on the 2024 Royal Rumble and Jean Claude Van Damme in 2001's Replicant, let's check out. We got a couple of items, latest news on our favorite 80s action stars. It's time for Van Dammit, Spanning the Universe.
Van Dammit, Spanning the Universe.
All right, my friend. Groo, Spanning the Universe is brought to you by New Life Center. Begin a new you. Check out all of their wonderful laser treatments at www.newlifecenters.com or give them a call at 602-274-0068. The whole family, they're getting prepped for the big wedding in March. Everyone's getting lasered and tucked and nipped. And so tell them Moody and Groo sent you and receive a big 15% off your first service. New Life Center. Restore your youthfulness with confidence. Get that New You free consultation, customized services. Feel good in an oh-so-stress-free environment. That's New You Life Center. I'll actually be in South Florida with Dandy for a good week. Maybe we'll get a show or two in while I'm down there. We'll talk about that a little bit more as we get closer.
It's cool in there.
Groo, the Terminator, Arnold Schwarzenegger, was back in the news last Thursday.
Really?
Arnold attended an auction in Kitzbühel, Austria on Thursday, where he auctioned off a luxury watch that he reportedly failed to declare the prior Wednesday at a Munich airport, leading him to be briefly detained. Schwarzenegger, 76, kicked off the auction with a stand-up comedy routine about the incident, saying, I mean, we always start things off with a lot of drama. That's what we saw yesterday. I mean, can you believe it? All of a sudden I was in handcuffs. The former governor of California told attendees that the cuffs weren't because of a watch or the customs office, but from a hot night with his girlfriend, Heather Milligan, 48 years old. Oh! Well, good for you, Arnold. Good for you. Vince McMahon's calling. It's unbelievable. No. But seriously, the woman in the customs office said, if you don't behave, I'm going to put you in handcuffs. Schwarzenegger proceeded to rave about the very special $100,000 Audemars Piguet. I guess that's the watch that was in his luggage and was up for auction, and claimed custom agents also searched his bag for a second timepiece. He couldn't find it because I was hiding it. And I can't tell you where it was because the whole dramatic experience was seemingly worth it, as the watch reportedly sold Groo for $293,000, so that's a nice upcharge. An insider told Page Six that the former bodybuilder was never asked to fill out a declaration form, and he answered every question from the customs officers honestly. He cooperated at every step, even though it was, quote, an incompetent shakedown. Arnold did indicate that he would prepay potential taxes on the watch. Groo, I don't know, a cute little news item about Arnold back in the news for something other than film.
Well, it's, I was just thinking, it's like if you made a list, if you had to make a list of the 10 most fascinating pop culture people in the history of time, I believe Arnold Schwarzenegger would crack the top 5. This guy can turn anything into gold. And by pop culture, I mean, there's negative there too. There's negative with everybody. But he has ways of rebounding with different kinds of positivity and just like an optimism that you just don't see. And he gets detained at an Austrian airport. Imagine that happened to Gwyneth Paltrow. She'd be crying and suing for defamation, and Arnold's turning it into gold, and he's turning it into $250,000 for charity. The guy is a fucking icon of icons. That just proves it. So, I don't really even care about the story. It's just another thing that Schwarzenegger just looks at from a perspective of what can I do with this to make people smile? And then I just love the guy just for that. I don't know, man. It's just, think about it. Isn't he amazing? Isn't this guy freaking amazing?
He's a fascinating public speaker. I've listened to many of his speeches on YouTube. He's a fascinating public speaker, and he's really a self-made, and in many ways, he is an American success story. And it shows you, I still believe in the greatness of this country.
Yeah. And
personification of that. And, listen, I've also, I'm a guy, I'm 53 now, but I like the workouts, I love all that stuff. I love all that stuff that he touts. And, I love the, I can't tell you where the watch is because I can't sit down now, just a little,
he's amazing,
little cheeky, but I guess he can get away with it in 2024 and good for him.
And so, I'm happy to say, I'm proud to say, wait, are you moving on?
No, I'm proud. I agree with you. I think, top 5, top 10, that's for another debate, but he is definitely a fascinating man, and his legacy is a mammoth one.
Yeah, proud to say I voted for him for governor when I was living in California. But he's something else.
They're coming out with this Terminator anime, and they put like a 30-second trailer on Netflix, and they've really not said much. And I'm not a cartoon guy, but I'm very excited for this, because the one or two articles I have read is not really perhaps a reboot of Terminator, but another avenue to go, similar to Alien Romulus. You're going to move away from the core story and get, extend the universe that way. And so I'm really looking forward to it. It's a teaser with just the Terminator logo basically on the screen with the Terminator music in the background, and that's it. They haven't given a date yet, so very much looking forward. But
you're right. Yeah, you're right. It's a great idea, because every time they go back to the well of feature movie, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
I mean, you can like and dislike different than me, but this is something in a completely new direction, and I got to tell you, if you ask diehard Star Wars fans, who are pretty much on the same level of us with Terminator, if you ask them what's the best content that Star Wars has produced since, let's say, the prequels, okay, which get a lot of love these days, they will say the cartoons, the Clone Wars, the Rebels. They know that stuff back and forth, and so Disney kind of got ahead of that with Star Wars, and they did some cool things with it. So why not Terminator follow suit? And to go anime's got an insane cult following. So that's built in. So this will be extremely interesting. Very excited about it.
Well, Groo, according to sci-fi.com, the cast of Demolition Man was almost entirely different. We know that the 1993 sci-fi action hit was a Stallone, Wesley Snipes movie through and through. But before Stallone and Snipes signed on as leads in the film, Warner Brothers apparently had two other action movie heavy hitters in mind. Speaking to MTV in 2008, Jean Claude Van Damme revealed that he was once approached about the project, albeit with a different version of the script, to co-star as the villain alongside Steven Seagal. Quoting Jean Claude, "Years ago it was proposed that I would do a film with Steven Seagal. I was supposed to be in Demolition Man with him. It was a great project. The script I read was a lot different than the one Sly did with Wesley Snipes. I was the bad guy. Seagal was the good guy." The article goes on to say that Van Damme did not go into any more detail about the plot differences, and obviously the studio eventually went the other way and partnered up with Stallone for the film. But the article goes on to muse it would have been fascinating to see two other action movie heavies and two off-screen rivals get into it in the big screen fight. Groo, Demolition Man with Jean-Claude and Stevie?
Well, let's see. I think that Demolition Man is a very well-written movie, and it's not a movie that needed Sylvester Stallone. I think.
Loved it though.
Yes,
Stallone.
but
Loved it.
Yes, but here's the thing, and I'm curious to what you think about this.
Go ahead.
If you put Jean-Claude Van Damme in that role, in the Stallone role, not the villain, that to me is the kind of movie that Van Damme needed at that time.
Agreed.
And his career would have gone in a much better direction. It would have forced him to stretch his comedic muscles, and it was a good director, a good script, a good premise, a great cast around him, and I almost wish that he would have been in that part, because it's a good movie, but it's not. If you ask me, like, as a Stallone fan, is that anywhere near my top? No, I would rather have seen Van Damme in that. Seagal, no. Seagal's not a two-hander guy. Seagal doesn't share the screen, so I'm not surprised that didn't happen. But that's my take on that.
Interesting. I agree with you. I'm glad it was Stallone. I agree with you because I think Jean-Claude, if there's one thing this podcast has taught me is Jean Claude is best as the dewy-eyed, back up against the wall hero that's always beaten with an inch within his life and blood dripping out his nose, and somehow finds the inner strength. And I'll talk about that in reference to Replicant in a little bit. So I agree. I think Jean Claude could have pulled it off. To your point about not being in the top 5 or 10 in Stallone movies, I agree with you. But I thought this was and again, not to get off track, but I think this was sort of a mild comeback for Stallone. For some reason, I'm thinking when I went to the theater, he had been out of it for a while, and I remember really super enjoying this. Here, the Demolition Man to me is just like a meal at Taco Bell. It's fun. It's
goes
delicious.
Right through you.
Well, maybe, and it's definitely maybe not good for me and not nutritionally dense, but there's nothing better at 2:00 in the morning than a chicken quesadilla and a cherry Pepsi. So I liked Demolition Man for those factors. I loved Snipes. I loved him. I loved the comedic. Rob Schneider was phenomenal as that little snarky sidekick.
Yeah.
Sandra Bullock. Yeah, it's not a great movie, but it's a fun action movie, and that's what I like.
Yeah, I think what I meant by my long-winded comments here's what I think I meant. I think I meant that Demolition Man would have served Van Damme better than it served Stallone. Does that make sense? I think Stallone Stallone has the same trajectory with or without it.
Okay. I don't know if I agree with that statement, but I think this would have been a good project. I think Jean-Claude could have pulled it off.
Yes.
I'll save the Stallone versus Van Damme argument for another time, but I think Jean-Claude could have pulled it off. All right, Groo, every time we do a Spanning the Universe, I include a pro wrestling item. We've talked a lot about the WWE, but let me get your thoughts. Vice TV. Actually, Vice TV is going through some hard times right now. They had massive cuts, but they have the Dark Side franchise. That's like one of our favorite. And, of course, one of our favorites being pro wrestling-based Dark Side of the Ring. Well, we've got a confirmed 5th season, and now the topics for the show have been unveiled. Per the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Groo, upcoming episodes for the new season of Dark Side of the Ring are set to cover the following: Brutus the Barber Beefcake, Harley Race, Buff Bagwell, Kurt Angle, Chris Adams, ECW's The Sandman, and, of course, the event known as Black Saturday, when Vince McMahon purchased Georgia Championship Wrestling in 1984 to secure a TBS time slot for the northern-based WWF. Groo, Dark Side of the Ring, Season 5, do those topics tickle your fancy?
All but one. I'm not really interested in Bagwell. But
he's got such a interesting. Oh my God,
the
guy's been a train wreck. Oh yeah.
Well,
right.
I mean, train wreck. Yeah. But I never respected him enough as a wrestler to really be affected by things that he went through on a wrestling level. I just never liked him. I'm just not that interested in his backstory. Okay, but the other ones, especially the one that I know the least about, and that is Black Saturday. I'm looking forward to that one. The more I find out, mostly from like you and Craig, because you guys were about 5 years ahead of me in the early wrestling days. So when I hear you guys talking about that, like I feel like I missed something. So that's why these ones, like Tales from the Territories, I loved for that same reason. So this one is kind of like that to me.
So here, I agree. I'm looking forward to it. Vice TV does a great job with this stuff. Buff Bagwell, I will find interesting. I wasn't a Buff Bagwell fan, but he was a major part of WCW, that Monday Night Wars run. And then his match with Booker T on Raw, when they did the one, they tested out the WCW. They were going to do Nitro. They were going to bring Nitro back, and so they brought in 2 different announcers for one match on Raw under the WCW banner, and it was so bad they fired Bagwell, I guess, on the spot after that match. and he's had up and downs with drugs and all the stuff that we like to see. All I'll say about Black Saturday is I watched that live on TBS, and I was pissed because I was a WWF fan, but I also loved Georgia Championship Wrestling, and I wanted to see my Tommy Rich and Buzz Sawyer and Dusty Rhodes, and but anyway, I'm looking forward to Vice and season 5.
Is there a subject that they haven't covered yet that you'd be interested in hearing about?
I'd have to give that thought.
Me too.
They have articles about potential topics. I'd have to really give that thought, but yeah, I'm sure there's definitely one or two for sure that they have not covered. I mean, wrestling is so rich with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So,
and they did promote, and I know it's not Vice, but some new content from WWE on Peacock. I don't know that the interesting thing about being at SmackDown is what? What's the matter?
No, what did they?
Well, that's the thing, because the interesting thing about being in the building live is they do a lot more interactive stuff during the commercials. Like they're starting to do, like the wrestlers are now going out of the ring and being like in touch with the ringside fans during the commercials instead of just standing in the ring awkwardly. And on the screens, they're showing promos of things, so we don't really know when they're back on the air or not. So they aired something last night that was a promo for a new series called Evil on WWE Network.
Not new. That's probably going to be a season.
Oh, all right, new season. Yeah, so they showed some, believe it or not, they showed some very interesting names, starting with Paul Heyman, but, Hogan was on there, and believe it or not, they dared to show Vince McMahon on there last night. It was probably a mistake.
Okay, so who were the topics? Because they've covered Hogan. Season 1 covered Hogan in the NWO, so I don't know if this is a season 2 or they just promoted.
It might. Yeah, they didn't say exactly what topics. They just showed snippets of a lot of things. I didn't know it was an old series, but in any case, that. But also there was another documentary that they were. They Cody Rhodes on the Broken Skull. Steve Austin.
That's already on there, though. That's already on there.
Oh God, you're way ahead of me, man. Jeez, I was like, wow! Oh my God! Look at that!
They haven't really put out a lot of new stuff. The last 2 things they did was Vladimir the Superfan.
I love that. That was great.
They did a thing which was pretty touching. It was with Braun Strowman. He lives in Wisconsin, and that was they had a death of a young kid who was a WWE fan. It was in a parade.
Oh, I heard about
covered.
This.
The guy was nuts, and he drove his car full speed right into the parade, and he ended up killing, I think, 2 people, and one of them, this kid was a WWE superfan. So Braun has done a lot of charities and things with the family. It was overall very sad, but touching that he really got hands-on with the family and really tried to help as best he can. So anyway,
yeah. See, if I'm Vice, I'm like continuing to push this thing in the hope of getting bought out by WWE. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I think they've had significant cuts and things of that nature. But their Dark Side series, I think, for most people, is the highlight.
Yeah, it's definitely the flagship.
The Dark Side. I enjoy the comedy one as well. The comedy one. Sometimes the comedy ones are even more interesting than the wrestling ones, to be honest with you. So,
no shit.
Yeah. All right, Groo. Today's Van Dammit podcast, 2024 Royal Rumble predictions and 2001 Jean Claude Van Damme and Replicant. It's brought to you by New Life Center. Meet the New You team at www.newlifecenters.com. You can check out their photos and biographies of the team, Marie, Dr. Cynthia, Erica, Brian, Shelby, and the rest of the New You staff on their New You website. You can follow New You Life Center on Instagram at New You Life Center to take advantage of their specials and monthly giveaway. Check out all of their medical weight loss programs or give them a call at 602-274-0068. Tell them that Moody and Groo sent you and receive a big 15% off your first service. Oop, I just scrolled ahead. New Life Center, Phoenix Premier Med Spa for Botox, fillers, lasers, aesthetics, weight loss, and hormone optimization. A big Van Dammit thank you to New Life Center. Clearly, Vince McMahon doesn't need any more hormone optimization. Yeah. He's horny like a little minky.
He's hormoned out.
We could join.
Yeah, we're beyond. We're like Schwarzenegger. We're like Schwarzenegger. We're beyond cancellation at this point.
I'm the genetic jackhammer. Groo, there is really scant information on 2001 Replicant, Jean Claude. Replicant was released on September 18, 2001. Replicant is in the action sci-fi thriller genre. Replicant has a runtime of 140 minutes. It's directed by Ringo Lam. Fans of Jean Claude should recognize Ringo Lam as he has directed 3 of Jean Claude's films: Maximum Risk, Replicant, and 2003 aptly titled In Hell.
I'm laughing at you. I'm laughing the way you did that. I'm not laughing at the...
I don't know how to read into that. Like, Ringo Lam and Jean Claude
In Hell.
Because unfortunately, I don't feel there's a basis of success that would necessitate this
partnership.
Yeah, I don't.
Scorsese and De Niro, they are not. That let's say that.
I certainly did not like Maximum Risk. I did not like it at all.
Did we do Maximum Risk?
Yes, we did.
That's how great it was. And well, In Hell at least has an interesting title. I'm curious, based on that title alone, I'm curious to see what it's about. I mean,
we'll watch it.
I'm sure. I know we will. So I'm looking forward to it, at least discovering it. But I don't see that this Ringo Jean Claude partnership is like one to be like rivaled with I don't know. I mean, I said Scorsese, De Niro, and I'm sure there are other ones out there that are just blanking on. But I think it's pure coincidence. But you know what? Honestly, sometimes directors and actors, they enjoy working together. And it's possible, like Van Damme at this point in his career he's probably listed as a producer on this thing. So guys like him, whose names are above the title, they have a lot of say in who the director is going to be that's hired. And so if Jean Claude Van Damme has a director that he likes to work with, probably because the director gives him carte blanche, he'll say, okay, I will do this movie, but Ringo must direct. And, that's absolutely something Stallone has done. It's something Schwarzenegger's done. It's something all our people have done. So, because they like to have a lot of control, and they've earned it. So, I don't read too much into that.
Groo, the cast of Replicant, Jean Claude Van Damme as Replicant, the Torch, Michael Rooker as Detective Jake Riley, Catherine Dent as Angie, and James Hudson as Snotty Concierge.
Is that what it actually says?
Hudson.
Is that what the credit is actually?
Snotty Concierge.
You couldn't even give him a name, huh?
The plot of the film Groo. Jake Riley is working on the Torch case, a psycho serial killer who kills women with kids and sets them on fire after they are dead. The killer calls Riley sometimes, and now that Riley retires, the killer has no person to play against anymore. The NSA comes into play here and offers a job to Riley. A replicant or a clone of the killer is created that should help him find the real one as a kind of test if this would work out. Now Riley's back on track with a clone of the killer at his hand on a way to discover that nobody is born as a murderer. Yeah. The budget for Replicant Groo was...
Wasn't it based by a book by George Orwell?
Well, I will say that there's an interesting sci-fi story here.
There certainly is.
I mean, and I'll get to that as when I give my final thoughts on the movie. But here's one thing: I'm a little bit surprised. The budget was listed for $17 million for Replicant. Does this movie look like a $17 million film to you?
No, actually, it looks more expensive.
Really?
Yes, I really thought, looking at the trailer and then watching the movie, it's obvious that more money was spent on having the movie look the way it looked good as opposed to a good writer. But you know, I don't want to give too much away of my final thoughts. But no, I thought it looked like, and I attribute that to Van Damme was sort of lowered a little bit. He wasn't quite red hot at this point, so maybe it's his salary that cut into that. But I don't know. But it looks like, to me, it looks more than 17 million on the scrane.
Wow, I'm really surprised. But
you think it's...
Well, I just feel like that scene with the replicant where he comes out of the cocoon and like jelly goo all over him, and Van Damme's coming. I don't know. Maybe not the actual edits. It looked like it was like slapped together. It didn't feel like a $17 million film. Although, would you say in 2001, what would $17 million get you in 2001? Is that a decent budget for back then?
No, in 2001 that would still be considered lower budget, but I would say 17 million would translate to probably double that today. 34, 35. That's what I think, but I've been removed from that business for a while, so I really don't know. But the movie looks good, and to me, I like the way it looks, and that what you described didn't bother me so much, because when I watched it, I was like, okay, they're trying to do the same thing as the Terminator and Alien, but they got to figure out a way to do it differently enough, and so I was looking at it that way, not like it looks weird and cheap. It looks different than than movies that have done the same thing before. So I didn't mind that so much.
Groo, you want to queue up? Are you ready for some nothing worthwhile movie fun facts?
You are ready to go.
I'm ready?
Yeah.
All right. Groo, this is Jean Claude Van Damme.
Hold on.
Worthwhile presents
Where Colin got it right. Where Colin got it wrong.
Okay, now you go.
All right, Groo. Movie fun facts. Groo, this is Jean Claude Van Damme's fourth film in which he plays a dual role after Double Impact, 1991, Time Cop, 1994, Maximum Risk, 1996. And that's a pretty unique statistic.
Yeah, but I guess he likes working with himself, so that's fine. I don't always think it's necessary, and it's funny because sometimes when I think it's necessary, they don't do it. And I'll give you the perfect example: Terminator 2. I felt it should have been Arnold versus Arnold. Hot take, bad take.
No, that's it.
Because Robert Patrick created a hell of a villain there, but
he sure did. I always think of, like, when you talk about the dual role, I always think of Ray Liotta in that Sopranos. It was like the one brother had his hair pushed forward.
Oh, yeah.
The one brother had his hair.
Yeah.
That's all they did.
Yeah, I know.
The one brother had his hair.
Yeah, they really went to great lengths for that. But hey, look, it works for the story, and in Van Damme's case, for better or worse, it does. So,
well, I will say this: looking at those four films, the one where I felt like he pulled it off the best was the first one, Double Impact. I said it on the podcast. I'll agree with you. Thank you. Okay, good. Appreciate that. Group for Replicant, this came off of IMDb website. James Woods and Jennifer Lopez were supposed to appear in this movie. I'm assuming J-Lo plays the good guy. Any thoughts on perhaps James Woods and J-Lo being in Replicant?
What roles would they have played?
I don't know. I'm assuming.
Would James Woods have played the Michael Rooker part?
It sort of makes sense. I mean, J-Lo was a name back in 2001.
Yeah,
right? She did that
Out of Sight.
Money Train.
Yeah, she did that
with Snipes and Woody.
Yep.
Woody Harrelson.
Yeah, she did Out of Sight with Clooney. So she was, and she was already a pop star. So, and she would have been who in this movie?
I don't know. Maybe she would have been the Torch Replicant character.
I don't know.
Maybe?
But
I don't know.
James Woods probably would have worked
the
better.
Prostitute?
Maybe. That would have been nice. James Woods probably would have been better a better choice than Michael Rooker, and I say that as a huge fan of Michael Rooker, believe it or not. When I saw Michael Rooker, I didn't know he was in the movie until I saw him. I think his credit didn't come until, because he's right in the beginning. I'm like, all right, I love this guy. This guy's great. But he's a great character actor. He can't carry a movie. And that was the problem here. James Woods can. And really, if you think about it, the main character, the lead of this movie, is Michael Rooker, not Jean Claude Van Damme. And so that it gives a little.
I agree with
preview.
you there.
But so I think Woods would have worked. I don't know where they would have fit in J-Lo, but hey, more J-Lo, I'll take it.
Speaking of Michael Rooker, there is a note here that says Michael Rooker plays a serial killer in Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. That was a movie in 1986, years before playing the cop chasing the serial killer in Replicant. And I just put in my notes, I do like Michael Rooker, but I've never seen Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. And you have referenced your fandom for Michael Rooker. And I agree with you, generally speaking, tough for him to pull off leading a movie.
Yeah, he's kind of too serious, especially in this one. But he's also got to be given good writing. And let me ask you a question. Did he retire from the FBI and then get pulled back into it that afternoon? Because that's what it seemed like.
Yeah, was he FBI? I thought he was just local.
Or whatever it was. He retired, and then he's at his retirement party and literally gets the phone call and then turn the page of the script, and he's knee deep into this into the Replicant thing, Well,
I think actually it's even earlier. I think the two guys meet him outside after the opening fight scene.
Yes,
where,
but then it's when the Torch calls him at his retirement party. That's when he's like, "Okay, I'm back in, or I'm signing up with these guys."
My biggest take on that opening fight scene was Michael Rooker is very sweaty. They have these just covered in water, he's constantly. Anyway, funny take.
But he is an endearing actor in the right part.
Not in this movie.
Not in this movie. Correct. And Jake Riley. They really spent a lot of time thinking of that name, Detective Jake Riley.
Groo loves breaking down the names, and they are funny.
Yeah.
At the start of the movie, Van Damme lights up a $20 bill on fire to ignite gasoline on the body. When he drops the bill, it miraculously turns into a dollar bill. Groo, is this a clear homage to the incredible inflation that we're going through right now?
It's either a clear homage to inflation or a horrible continuity error. I would probably go with option B.
Yeah, I know. I had to
those are fun. Those are fun little things that show up in every movie.
They have a ton of them, but then I'm like, is this really interesting for me to they have so many in every movie? But I go,
yeah,
I just don't think it's really that interesting.
Yeah, it's but in a movie like this, they're more fun to point out because it keeps you more interested. Maybe I don't know. Oh man, Van Damme, all we do is crap on the guy. I feel so bad.
I'm trying to. I don't think. At least I do, because this podcast has given me a begrudging respect for Jean Claude, because I do think there are things he does well, but doesn't do it here. Real quick, do you want to try and give me what do you think the Rotten Tomatoes approval rating is on the critical? We got 11 critical reviews. You want to give a score?
Yeah, let me. So 11.
A gander.
I'm going to say probably 2 or 3 were positive. So let's give that. Let's say it's in the 20s. Maybe I'll just say 20%, or I guess 21 or 22% based on 11.
27%. So you're pretty close.
Okay.
What do you think of the audience score?
The audience is probably a little higher, because I do think, and I wonder if you agree with me, there's a lot of low-hanging fruit in this movie. There's a lot of stuff that is sort of manipulative enough to make you think you're watching a better movie than you are. So I'm going to say the audience score is probably around 50 to 55%. What do you think? Or what is it?
Your thinking is correct, but you're a little high, 37%.
Okay. All right. Well, still, that's sort of. But, yeah, I think because it looks, doesn't the trailer look really good to you? It did to me.
It does. I had, watching this, I remember this vaguely as a young man watching this somewhere. I couldn't tell you where, if it was on cable. I vaguely remember watching this movie at some point. Unfortunately, I didn't clip any critical responses. Those are always fun to read out. But do you want to give a gander as to the movie gross? Because it's pretty stunning.
Well, I think it's probably not even like 50,000 because I think this was never released in theaters. I think this was his first like direct to video thing, so it's probably not even 1 million.
I have
right?
no idea. Wow, you're really good. $894,844.
Yeah, I don't think it ever hit theaters.
37 cents.
I don't think it ever hit theaters.
37 cents. I'm joking.
37 cents.
It's just. You're probably right. There's just not a lot on this movie. So look, Groo, we did surmise that this is perhaps the slide for Jean Claude. So on a scale of 0 to 4 lit matches, honestly, what'd you think of Replicant?
1, and that's for that. Really, the 1 is for Jean Claude really trying and failing, but trying very hard. This could have been much better if his performance as the replicant, acting like a child in the beginning and showing some growth. He just doesn't have the chops to pull that off without making it seem comedic, but in a bad way. We're laughing. It's unintentional laughter. Like Schwarzenegger would be much better at but even Stallone probably wouldn't even be able to do this. Like it's not easy. And Schwarzenegger would, because he's kind of done it before in certain ways, like even in like Terminator 2, like when he's trying to like bond with the kid. So it's not a good movie at all. It's very, very underwritten. The action set pieces are starting to look like sort of the later Steven Seagal ones that sort of cut around to make it sort of look not fake, but not to reveal Van Damme's age. He's in his 40s now here, so he probably can't do as much as he used to be able to do. The dual role thing isn't necessary. I mean, it's necessary here, but it doesn't work that well because it's necessary. It's forced, and the idea of it is fascinating because it really is like, okay, the only way we can stop this guy is to create another one of him and program it to go after. And it's really a cool idea. It's kind of like an amalgam of Terminator, Alien, and something else I was thinking of, but I forgot. And I kind of like the idea. And it's always more disappointing to me when they take a good idea and screw it up by either not spending enough money or not getting the right talent or just making silly mistakes thinking that the idea and look of it alone is going to sell it. And here, obviously, it didn't. So, unfortunately, nice try, swing and a miss, 1 lit match for Replicant. Do better. And there is a better version of this story out there. I think Replicant should be remade.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, Andrew. Let me. All right. Let's get into.
Oh my God! Here it comes. He's stretching, folks. He's getting into a yoga pose. What is that?
It's
hey, pull up your pants.
It's all right. It's interesting conceptually. It makes no sense, but there is an interesting sci-fi concept here.
Mm-hmm.
I think Andy sort of has a similar take there. What I don't like about this movie, this movie has just no flow. it stylistically takes from a ton of movies. I see Alien Resurrection in the cocoon scene. I see Species with the flashbacks.
That's the one. That's the one I forgot. Yes. Species.
And seeing, what the Torch is seeing. It's a stretch, but it feels like somebody took Jean Claude in and went, Jean Claude, see, it's 2001. It's grunge. You got to go dark. And they want to give you like Seven, and he's got the stringy hair, and he's got the the weird lair, and they want to give you that sort of that nihilistic, that dark overtones, which he just cannot pull off. Fight scenes, Terminator, Demolition Man, one-on-one. It just and Ringo Lam, the cuts, it's just so choppy, and there's nothing original to the storyline. So it's like, well, hey, we'll take a little from Alien Resurrection, we'll take a little, and so there's just no flow. And I do feel Jean-Claude is best portraying, like the white meat babyface. He's the dewy-eyed hero, and I'm not here to say it's the worst movie that we've seen, but I've said it's by far the most disappointing. I'm giving it half a match. I watched this twice, and I there's nothing even here that I could link to and say, you know what, that's not bad. All of the other movies, there have been points where I'm like, all right, that's a fun fight scene, that's a fun this. It just, you're watching Jean-Claude as the replicant. Yes, he's a bait. And then he's doing aerobics, and he's doing the horse and mount in his cell, and Michael Rooker's being really mean to him, and then has a pep talk with his mom, and he's like, oh wait, I need to treat him like a human being. I've seen the light. It's just silly across the board, and I don't think this was a good choice for Jean-Claude. And I do feel like it's like, oh hey, it's 2001. We're in grunge. You got to go villain, and it doesn't fit his talents. It's not where Jean-Claude needs to be, and it's a mess of a movie, Andrew.
Yes, and I will give you one way it could have been saved, and that was with a better director. Because to me, the thing rises and falls under the performance of Jean-Claude Van Damme. If Van Damme can sell it to us, it works. And a better director, no disrespect to Ringo Lam, but he's probably kind of like I said before, he basically works for Van Damme. So he's not going to be the one to say, Jean-Claude, I'm not buying what I need a little more emotion here. I need this. Or to Rooker, you're taking yourself a little bit too seriously. Let's lighten up a little bit. You're on your way to retirement. Let's not be, you don't have to be the psychoanalysis, whatever. So a novice director is not going to approach that way. But let's say you got Jean-Claude Van Damme starring in a movie that's going to be directed by a Ron Howard or somebody but somebody who we know is an established name, who is respected and can walk up to a Jean-Claude and say, listen, you're not delivering. You're just not delivering, okay? If you need a day off, take a day off, and we'll work on it, whatever. But, I think the writing is there. If you have a problem with like a better director can direct actors to carry the movie better. And this could have been carried by a performances, three of them, good Van Damme, bad Van Damme, and Rooker, that we believed in. And unfortunately, we believed in none of them.
But do you feel this material, I mean, I don't even think it suits, like sometimes we look at a movie, and whether it's Stallone but any movie, and we go, this wasn't just a good project for this guy's skill set. I don't think this was a good project with Jean-Claude Van Damme. I hear what you're saying with a better director, sure. I don't think it goes into his wheelhouse, so to speak, as an actor, then if there is one.
Well, then his skill set is not more ass kicking, less talky. And but as you get older, you have to start talking more, and you have to you have to have the audience be with you when you can't do the things that they fell in love with you for. Like Stallone, they fell in love with him because they fell in love with him as Rocky before he even started. They love the character is a bad example. But like Schwarzenegger, okay? Schwarzenegger's personality has taken him to heights, like we said before. I'm not going to repeat it. If he stayed at that Terminator monotone from 1984 on, he wouldn't have lasted. But he evolved and he worked at it and he attached it. He wasn't afraid to it. Look at the directors he worked with. Ivan Reitman. His first comedy is being directed by Ivan Reitman, the comedy director of the 70s and 80s. So you're working with people who are going to come, and Ivan Reitman will get into your face and say, Arnold, you're fucking it up. Like, and Arnold will sit back because he's trying, this is his big, he knows what's at stake here. He knows this is his chance to cross over into a completely new realm of entertainment. And he's going to listen to the pro. Van Damme had a chance to do that with the second part here, with the Replicant. They could have made that a whole section of the movie showing us a whole act could have been the cop and the Replicant sort of developing this
buddy
trust.
Movie? Okay,
yes, it could have been. It could something.
Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte?
No, but it didn't know. It didn't know what it wanted to be.
Understood. But my thing is, Jean Claude is best as the white meat hero, and here the Replicant's really. I guess the Replicant is the hero, and it's not fully formed, and it's choppy, and it comes off comedic and silly, and so that's why I don't feel this was a good move for him.
I agree. But I will say this to your point about like he's best as the white meat babyface hero. And while I do agree with that to a point, remember what I've said about my opinion in the past. What his best performance was. And that was in the Expendables 2 as the villain. We'll
cover Expendables.
So yeah, so it's interesting you say that, and I think you're right because I don't think he could have pulled off the Expendables 2 performance at that point in his career.
That's about. I was just going to say. Yeah. So Expendables 2 is what year, Andrew? I
want to say 2012 or 13, around then. So 12 years later.
So he's had 11 or 12 years of more reps, probably a lot of bad films, good films, blah, blah, blah.
Well, we'll find out, won't we?
And also, his mindset's probably a lot different now. You know, you're not batting fourth for the New York Yankees. You've been humbled a little bit, and you have an opportunity to get around good actors and be in a reclamation project, so to speak. So, we'll talk about it when we get to it. Are
we going to cover JCVD?
Yes.
Okay, good. Because I've never seen that, and I've always wanted to.
Yes, and we are. But I am now more interested than ever to watch 2003 in Hell with Ringo Lam.
Me too.
I want to see what Ringo does with Jean Claude.
Yeah, and I want to compare it to this.
So
one.
we're gonna do JCVD. We're gonna do Expendables 2, and then we're gonna call it Van Dammit, the best of the rest, and we're gonna find all those one-off movies, all those streamers, all those good, bad, and really bad. And have fun just reviewing them, and we'll get all those movies in for sure. He's got quite the filmography.
You know what we should do once, down the road? Let's take one of those. Let's take one of those movies of like either Bruce Willis or John Travolta, or they have like 30 of them, or Nicolas Cage, and just torture ourselves and do one of those one week.
Let's do it.
I don't think I've ever actually sat down and watched one of those. So I kind of want to.
We have to submit that request to Ryan Rapalka.
Yeah, we can do that.
In advance.
That's okay.
Do that form.
I have it. I have it. It's a PDF, and we'll
media rights form. Yeah. All right, Andrew. Let's close on a high note. 2024 Royal Rumble will be going down in just a couple of hours. So let's take a look at the match card. Let's get your thoughts. Let's start off with we'll have Andrew go first. Logan Paul versus Kevin Owens. That's a singles match for the WWE United States Championship. I'll save you the background. Andrew, who do you got here and why?
I got Kevin Owens to take the U.S. title from Logan Paul. Logan Paul's a part-timer, so I see Kevin Owens taking the title here. and Logan Paul coming back, maybe around Mania time to set up a Mania match for either a rematch for the title or, if the title goes to somebody else. But Kevin Owens is kind of in limbo right now, so I think this is a good thing it's good to put the title back on him, especially since Logan is, kind of comes and goes. So I got Kevin Owens clean win. Good match. Very good match, I think it's going to be.
Andrew, you're completely wrong here.
Really?
Logan Paul will win,
Wow.
and if anything, Kevin Owens will get the rematch and the comeuppance at the biggest stage at WrestleMania. WWE is wrestling Hollywood right now, and there's no bigger name than Logan Paul. One could argue that. He's really good in the ring. The part-time stuff doesn't seem to bother really anybody, including Triple H and the fans. I just don't see Kevin Owens beating him here yet. So I will disagree with you. I will go with one Mr. Logan Paulie.
Okay. It's also always more fun when we disagree.
All right, Andrew, I'll take the next one first. I've got the fatal four-way match for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. Roman Reigns versus Randy Orton versus AJ Styles versus LA Knight. I don't care how we got here. There's just, Roman Reigns all 100% of the way. I don't see any other avenue for anyone winning. They've teased sort of the rivalry with anything with the SmackDown general manager, Nick Aldis. I don't see Nick Aldis getting involved or anything like that. Nefarious ways. I really hope it's clean because I'm getting tired of the Roman Reigns, jumbly finishes, although this one sets up a jumbly finish. But Roman's going into Mania. Roman's going into Mania as the champ. I have Roman Reigns. Andrew?
Yes, I have Roman Reigns for all the reasons that you said. I'm going to go a step further, and I'm going to say it's going to be Roman Reigns pinning AJ Styles.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
And I think it's going to be, even though it'll obviously be a jumbly, I still think it's going to be kind of clean because I think people are starting
He needs it.
Yeah, exactly.
It, yeah.
You said exactly what I was going to say. The WWE universe is sort of getting buzzy about the fact that they keep touting this record and how amazing Roman is, and yet every win is a schmaz, and the matches are so few and far between. So even though it doesn't seem to bother the execs, you're starting to get a little bit of criticism of that. So I think this match should be a clean win for Roman Reigns, but it's got to be on AJ because I think he's the only one who can really afford the pin. I think Randy is on a momentum, as is LA Knight, even though he's come down a little bit. That crowd was on fire for LA Knight last night. So I think the pin has to go on AJ, and it's got to be clean. And so we're agreeing on this one.
And he's got to be stronger than that. All right. Andrew, listen, Andrew's on point. Good stuff there. All right, we'll go to Andrew first. Let's talk about the Women's Royal Rumble match. We got 30 women. Whoever wins the Royal Rumble earns a World Championship match at WrestleMania in Philly. Some of the major participants that have been announced: Bayley, Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, Nia Jax. Andrew, who do you got and why? Women's Royal Rumble.
I've got Nia Jax. Why? Because she is on a path. She is on a comeback like I've never seen. She was done. She was for whatever reason, just like she couldn't buy heat. And then she disappeared for a while, and for whatever reason, she's back now.
Tingles,
and every
honestly.
time she's on, I'm glued to the TV. It's not like, look, is she pleasant to look at? Yes. Is she?
I think
is
she is.
Is she a sable? No. She's a female wrestler who is
such a sexist, Andrew.
I am.
Such a sexist.
Yes, I am. I admit it, but
I'm
no,
joking.
she's a female wrestler
So serious.
who for some reason has found a way to bring it in a way she hasn't before, and I really think they'd be foolish to, and I think they're going to open the show with it, so it's okay if it's not the biggest crowd pleaser. I think Nia's got to win this one, and I'm going all in on it. It's actually my most of the night. There are not many picks, but it's the one I would put most quality points on. Is that what they call it over there?
Don't give the fucking don't.
All right, okay.
Don't.
But I'm more confident about this than the others.
The thing is, I get back into it, and then they're going to say something that pisses me off with their stupid anxiety commercials. I don't want a woke wrestling podcast. And the guys do a good job, but they take it way over to the left. And I don't mean left. Well, maybe I do. All right. So I want to say something. I don't agree with Andrew's prediction, but it's ballsy, and I like it. I like Andrew's prediction. I don't agree with it. But Nia Jax, she beat Becky Lynch on Raw, and I was like, at 53 years old, I was like, wow, I cannot believe they went there. And I'm glad that they did, because I think she's deserving of some face time. She got humbled, and she's come back, and she's done a good job. And not that this is a referendum on her looks, but I think she's a beautiful woman. How about that?
She is.
So, look, Andrew, I got. To me, it comes down to one of four. I think we're going to see Jade Cargill finally, the big signing from AEW. That's a tough read there because she got all this press, and then they kind of pushed it back. I think they've been working with her on her wrestling style and her presentation and everything like that. They put a lot of money into her, and I think she'll deliver. But I think they wanted to wait and make sure when it's done right. You always have Bianca Belair, and you also always have Becky Lynch. Those are two big names. And I think the fourth one is Bayley. I think Bayley has been front and center with the Damage Control storyline, and they've been teasing the breakup. And so my pick to win, and look, I'm going to be honest, I don't read as much as Andy maybe thinks. I read one website, and that's about it. And I have been out of it lately. I am getting married, damn it, and I've been busy. But
oh yeah,
joking.
I got some work to do.
Yeah, you do. Video packages.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to go to Bayley here. That's my pick, and for a couple of reasons. She's one of the original 4 OG NXT horsewomen. So It was Bayley, Sasha, Charlotte, and Becky Lynch. She has taken a back seat literally in the last 2 years to other people. She's jobbed. She's done. If I'm reading the tea leaves here, and I don't drink tea, and I don't like tea, I just feel like it's Bayley's time, and I feel like it's her time for a Mania main event. And I'm not even sure there's bigger names, yes, than her, but it feels like I'm kind of in the same vein with Nia as I am with Bayley. I don't know. I feel like there's a room for maybe her versus Io. Now that you have the Charlotte Flair injury, she's off on the SmackDown side. You can fit Bayley in here and get her a main event. It's the first one. I don't know if she's ever been involved in a main event at Mania on the women's side. So I love Andrew's pick. I don't agree with it, but I'm going to go Bayley here.
All right. So here's why I like your pick.
Thank you.
So you got Bayley. Who were the other? You had Jade Cargill. So what's got to happen with Jade Cargill if she's going to be in it? Which I agree with you. I think they're gonna this would be the perfect spot, and they got to give her a good run. She's gotta she's got to have the Diesel moment. She's got to come in, make a big splash, but she should not win. Not on her first. She's not main eventing WrestleMania with her second match. Okay, but she's got to come in, get a huge pop, and do really well. And then disappear for a little bit, and then get eliminated like out of nowhere by somebody reputable. Bayley and Nia, both of our picks, each of them move things forward. Becky Lynch winning moves nothing anywhere. Okay, who else did you say?
Always Bianca Belair.
Bianca, to me, again, doesn't move anything anywhere because she's already been there. And I don't need to see it. She's probably going to be. I'm sorry in advance for asking this, but are there 2 women's world titles?
Yes.
Yeah, Rhea's
Io
got
Sky
one.
has
Yeah,
this-
all right. So Io and Rhea.
Rhea Ripley.
Right.
And,
So whoever. So if Bailey wins, it moves the story forward, and she's going to face one, and then Bianca will most likely face the other. So she doesn't need to win here. Bailey or someone like Nia does, because that will push them. And I'll say this to your point about Bailey, based on what I saw last night, whether it was on TV or not, they are pushing Bailey to the moon. So
I think she deserves it. She
yes,
deserves it.
yes.
I think
So I'm going to stick with Nia, but I'll be just as happy with Bailey winning this.
All right, I'm coming up on my self-proposed time element, but I do want to ask you a further question.
Yes.
How would you book Jade Cargill for WrestleMania?
Honestly, I'm going to save you some time here because I don't know enough about her to give a.
You don't need to. You know she's a big name. Does she have a spot on the match card at WrestleMania 2 nights?
Yes.
Is she in a main event, or is she in a strong secondary?
She's not in a main event. She's in, like you said, a strong secondary. Maybe her versus Bianca would be, if the titles are tied up with Becky Lynch and Nia and Bailey or whatever.
Okay, good
but you put her with somebody good and you have her go over against somebody good. Probably on a night one. But yeah, that's how I would do it. You don't want her to burn out.
All right, Andrew. Good stuff. I like what you had to say. Men's Royal Rumble. We got 30 guys, and the winner of the match earns a World Championship match at WrestleMania in Philly. We have a couple announced participants. I'm not going to read them, so I'll give my thoughts first, and then I will be very interested to hear Andrew's thoughts on the winner of the men's match. So I see it really between 3, possibly 4 guys. I'm going to give you CM Punk. I'm going to give you Cody Rhodes. I'm going to give you Gunther. And I hate to say it, I give an outside shot maybe of The Rock showing up. Let me say off the bat, I'll give a Rocky IV response if The Rock ends up facing Roman Reigns. I'll love it, but I don't want it. I really don't want it for WrestleMania. I want the story to end with Cody and Roman Reigns. And that's kind of how I see it. I was rock solid, so to speak, on CM Punk, but I've lowered my percentages. So I'm going to go here. I still think it's going to be CM Punk, but instead of going like 90%, which I would have given you maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, I'm going to go CM Punk at 50, Gunther at 40, Cody at 10. I'm going to stick with my first impression. I think it's CM Punk's time. And I think they put a lot of money and time, and it just feels like his time to shine here. Whether or not he wins something, I'll talk about that in another podcast. But yeah, Gunther is slowly that promo got me thinking a little bit, and some people have surmised. But I'm going to stick with my original guy. I'm going to go with the CM Punk here to win the Royal Rumble. Andrew, what do you got?
It's a great pick. I kind of feel the same way as you do, because what I believe was the plan was to set up tonight a Mania match between Gunther and Brock Lesnar. Now that we know Lesnar is off the table, that ups Gunther's percentage to win this thing by a lot. But I am still going to stick with my original pick, which is the same as yours, CM Punk. He's the hot hand. You end the show, CM Punk wins and chooses Rollins on the spot, and the crowd goes home with a huge pop with the match that they want to see. You can get Cody to Roman in multiple ways. So CM Punk is my pick, and I'm going to give it at like 85%.
Okay. I like how you ended too. I think that would be interesting if you just popped it right there and said Seth Rollins, just
well,
go.
Don't they usually do that now?
No, they usually do like the next day at Raw or whatever. They have like, the guy comes out and then maybe the 2 champions stand there. Or
I remember when Nakamura won, like that night, they're like, "Who are you gonna pick?" He's like, "AJ Styles."
Okay, so how do you say it? Let me hear that again.
AJ Styles. I love Nakamura. He's awesome.
By the way, love what they've done with Nakamura.
Yes.
Love what they've done with Nakamura.
Yes.
So no, so if he did an AJ Styles like Nakamura, I'm saying I'd love if he just grabbed the mic and he was like, you know what, I'm not waiting.
Yeah.
F this S.
Awesome.
The place will go bonkers.
Yep.
So I agree with you. As a fan, you just get a feeling. Like last year, I said to you, you know what? I want Roman to win. And I want one more year of Cody, and so we're going to get that, and I feel like it's Cody's time. But for Gunther, you can make a damn strong case, but I want him for next year. That's just as a fan, let's let him build, let him lose or let him. I don't know how they're going to do it, but it'll be fun. It'll be fun to see how they integrate Gunther. But no, I don't want him in my main event yet. I want him in 2025.
Yeah, and here's
Give me what I want.
Here's what I'd like to see, and real quick, here's what I'd like to see. I want to see Cody beat Roman for the title, finish that story, and then you bring in Rock, because it's almost like, well, I guess you're not so hot after all, Roman. You lost the title to an over the hill or whatever. Like there's story there. Now Rock can challenge for the head of the table. If Roman wins, it's like the guy's unbeatable. So what's there to challenge? I'm actually a writer for WWE. Can you repeat that line that Rock says to Roman? Oh, hey, you're not. Hold on, you're not. What was that? You're not. What so big. Whatever I
stuttered.
Yeah. But that's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see. Big after all. I'd like to see the Rock Roman head of the table thing. I would think it would be great if at Mania Cody beats Roman, does the celebrating, and then they pull another bait and switch, like they put the thing on, and then Rock comes out and challenges Roman for Mania 41 right there. I think that'd be awesome.
Well, here's the thing. If it's a year, it's got to be a year. They can't. I mean, Rock's 51 years old. We're on borrowed time, so we got to get this in. I'm saying if you want to do that, that's fine. But
or SummerSlam. Either way, I don't think it should be at this coming Mania. This is Cody's time.
I'm going to
like Dave LaGreca said. Actually, before you go, can I ask you one question?
Let me give you my breakdown.
Okay, go ahead. I'm
going to walk the dogs. I'm cleaning the back patio. I'm going upstairs. I'm showering, and I'm going to be like, listen, I really don't want to be bothered for the next 4 hours. Order me a chicken parm sub and a cherry Pepsi and well, anyway,
and a stripper.
I told her, I'm not doing anything tonight. We went out Friday night on a rare Friday nighter.
We went out last month.
I'm looking forward to Royal Rumble. Andrew, did you have one other wrestling question?
Yes, I because I have a thought. Do you have a pick for a surprise entrant?
That's a great question, and it's one that I've not given any thought to. If there's going to be one, I feel like it's going to be more on the women's side, maybe like an Alexa Bliss or something like that. Or, I'm trying to think of a cool sort of veteran callback, nostalgia callback that they can bring out. There was some inklings of, I heard maybe X-Pac, but not really. It's fine, and I'll have a great time seeing them, but it's not something I'm going to be like, oh my God!
Yeah.
So, no, you caught me there. Obviously, you want to give yours.
Yes, I have one. And before I say it, I don't want this to happen. I absolutely don't want it to happen. I'm calling Hulk Hogan. I'm calling Hulk Hogan. And here's why.
He'll get booed out of the arena. He'll get booed.
Well, maybe. And that's most of the reason why I don't want it to happen. I also think he's too fucking old. But they've been airing too much of this 40 years of Hulkamania, and he keeps teasing it. And they did it again last night in the arena during a commercial almost as if to test the waters. And they put it up on the big screen, and he was the narrator and the person who was talking all about hyping up the Rumble. And then the last shot was of his face, like, it's all about the Rumble, whatever. And the crowd popped big. I don't think it was on TV. So that's the reason. And it was at that time when I'm like, you know what? All right, you know what? I'll go out on a limb and I'll say I'm going to call it. I hope it doesn't happen. I really do. And he's still my favorite of all time, but his time has come and gone. All right?
I agree.
But I'm still going to put it out there. But that's based on information that I had that you didn't.
By the way, I'll mark out, but
I wouldn't mark out. Evan, I'll be like this. I don't want to watch. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it.
It's like,
even though, like, when we met him in person, we were both like, "Oh, I love you, I love you, I love you." It's a different thing, you know.
It is a different thing.
Yeah,
it is a different thing. All right, guys. In 1 month's time, we'll return back to Van Dammit. It's a good one that we've already talked about a little bit. I'm interested in seeing with Groo. It's 2008, the aptly titled JCVD. Groo, the biggest fight of his life, 2008, JCVD.
Can't wait. This is one that I've heard nothing but positive things about. I haven't checked like reviews or anything, but people who've seen it have all told me that it's good stuff. I've never seen it, so I'm excited to watch it and discuss it. And you know, I'm kind of getting tired of being disappointed by this guy.
Yeah.
All right, so give me something good. So I'm cautiously optimistic on this one.
All right, so that dovetails into our next podcast when Groo and I return back to the mothership. We're going to be cautiously optimistic in Nothing Worthwhile Neighborhood. As we said, the Piano Man Billy Joel is back, and we'll give you our thoughts on the new single and maybe more. Turn the lights on, and we'll add some thoughts if there's any additional Joel material. Think it'll be a good time. We'll have special guests. My younger brother, Andrew Moody, will join us to cover all things Nothing Worthwhile. And Billy, Groo, turn the lights on.
Turn the lights on. Did I wait too long? We will find out, won't we, Evan? So, it's exciting stuff on the Nothing Worthwhile Neighborhood. Nothing but exciting things on the horizon.
Well, we hope everyone has enjoyed this podcast of Van Dammit. Andrew, take us out of here.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today on Van Dammit and our run-through review of Replicant, the latest JCVD adventure. Next time on Van Dammit, JCVD, the movie. And next time on Nothing Worthwhile, as we just said, we're going to be talking about Billy Joel and did he wait too long to turn the lights back on? We will find out soon. And until then, folks, we hope you have a wonderful weekend. We hope you enjoy the Royal Rumble this evening. And we hope all good things that don't come to an end. And until next time, 1, 2, 3.
No retreat!
Oh, yeah.
No retreat. Oh, gosh.
Oh, my God.
Every time.
Such a schmuck. This is Groo saying no retreat.
No retreat?
No surrender. All right, let's try it again. 1, 2, 3.
No retreat.
And no surrender. All right, not bad.
Not bad. Everybody.